Okay, so welcome to our next installment of Mystara. We are up to session number 126, or the easier one to remember is, if I've actually got it here, Phase 3, Season 2, Episode 12. They are currently in the Five Shires, trying to encourage the halflings to send one of their holy relics across to where Bargle, one of their main nemesis, is currently residing, to try to save the region from a fiendish plague. Online today we have Elliot.
Yes, hello. I'm playing Tufan, the Elvish Warlock, who's also probably pretty keen to get out of this area where everyone seems a bit too excited about eating everyone else.
Okay, so next one it really help if it's actually looking at the right version of it. We should be on that one with the right players. Next one we have online is Sean.
I'm playing Genrick, the Elven Druid, who is definitely not an Arsenis.
Up next we have is Gabe.
I'm playing Malin, the Elven Fighter, who is quite down.
Next up is Rhiannon.
I'm playing Hildren, the Genasi Ranger Cleric, who is apparently freaking everybody out by fangirling over the chat.
Hey, I'm sure many of the other groups will be on board with you fangirling the chef, because most of them have met him at some point or another. One of the Friday night characters actually has a wife who is one of his sisters.
Lovely.
And on their first date, she massacred a tavern so they could have a quiet date.
Sounds fun to me.
So he decided he was going to be very nice and polite to her after their first date.
Important to make a good first impression.
Exactly.
And last but not least is Jeremy.
Good evening all, yes. I'm playing Dimitrov, obviously not least by effective imagination. He's humble enough to accept that, hey, he may be forgotten in certain situations, but that's just because he recognises that some people think that they don't need his guidance and wisdom, and he's willing to let them find out for themselves the mistake they've made by allowing it to happen.
I'm sure there is some wisdom in that planning somewhere along the line. And joining them is an NPC known as Drizzle, who occasionally talks, rarely helps, but will rewind time when they break things, rarely to their advantage. So,
okay, if the dimensions involved, nothing can go wrong.
Yeah, time still got rewound.
That wasn't Dimitri's fault, that was the people not listening to Dimitri.
Okay, so
the only time Dimitri's been involved in time rewounding was when they said the whole party was involved in a loop, but that was just because there wasn't enough Dimitri to go round. He had to be in 10 places all at once.
You obviously need to learn simulacrum, Dimitri.
Yeah, so depending on which version, depending on which version of the rules you use, there are some of those that gain sentience and hunt down the creator of them to kill them and assume their identity.
Oh, but none of those would do that to Dimitri. He would do it perfectly.
He wouldn't do it to himself.
Exactly. We need to recognize that the world needs more Dimitri, so there's no point hunting down and killing any of them.
But which one's the true one when you have 2 or 3 of them show up and accuse the one you're travelling with of stealing their identity?
I guess I'd have to listen to the ask them a question and then figure it out from there.
I was just speaking survival of the fittest.
That works too.
Yes, when it's Dimitri involved, survival of the fittest normally means one of the other party members dies. It's not exactly the fittest, it's just the most convenient. Okay, so does someone want to do the recap for last session?
Gandrick and, was it Defan, got pulled into the Fae area. Purely Gandrick's fault.
Wasn't it Valen and Gendrick?
It was, whoever wasn't here last week, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, you got pulled into the Fae realm.
I would have spoken to the Fae realm.
Well, I believe Hildron also went there as well because hunting.
Yeah, that's right. We went
yeah.
hunting.
Stefan and I went hunting and returned 2 days before we left.
But with food, so it's fine.
Yeah, lots of food.
Efficiency.
I have a whole heap of notes if you want me to run through them quickly.
That is up to you.
So Valen, we arrived, as I said, Dothan and I went hunting and then came back 2 days earlier. We passed some mass graves, which turned out to be the grave of the Gentle Elves of the Hollow World. So we found out all the stuff about them. We found out we're getting close to the end of the month and the last month of spring. We arrived at Rollstone Keep, got stopped by the 5 sheriffs of the 5 shires, who then put Trelane on fire. Oh, not fire.
Fire would definitely be an interesting interpretation of that.
On trial. On trial for killing himself. Because apparently the fact that he turned into an elf meant that he died. We got a rundown of the state of...
And it was a surprise to the character and the player that they had been considered dead and murdered by his current character.
Yes. That was all resolved thanks to Dimitri.
Absolutely.
Then we got a rundown of what's happening around the war against the Master. Dwarves have withdrawn, West Arrogans overrun. We need more support. Halflings believe their elite can stop most of the Master's magic, but they won't come until the 15th day of the 3rd month, or the 3rd full moon of winter. They will send some troops earlier, but not their elites, before the divine date. They do expect the Master to come forward to break the line, and we have to be careful of nights, was it with the full moon, as it increases the Master's powers? The Halflings haven't heard of the Ashen King. They are willing to entertain the idea of lending the relic, which will mean that undead can't survive and it can cure the plague. Can cure plague, disease, and curses, which will help with the Ashen King's curse. We had to talk to the chef, as he was the connection to the Masters of the Black Flame, who look after the relic. We apparently will never meet the actual Masters of the Black Flame, but we have the chef with us to give us as a mediator. The chef has said that he will come to Riverfork Keep to ensure it is secure, and the Masters of the Black Flame will come after to use the relic on a moonlit night, preferably during a full moon, which is 2 weeks away, as long as the chef says it's all okay. This may even shatter the connections of the Ashen King removing his power in this world. if we got it done on the apex moon, but the apex moon is too far away. We're going to return by a couple of villages and a battlefield rather than going through Riverfork woods. I've got some random notes of interest to me. We found out the chef is one of the retired dread pirates of the Halfling Fleet, as they said. Halfling Fleet. As I said, Pilgrim is slowly is becoming a bigger fan and becoming a bit of a fangirl. Every knife the chef holds is one designed for preparing serving a different ingredient. He has cookbooks about how to cook every race, creature, whatever. So, yeah. Yes, and I'm after the ones on orcs and trolls and things that I'm likely to encounter up in the northern reaches. Did I miss anything, or is that a fairly good rundown?
That is a fairly good rundown.
Another thing, Edward had the entirety of his life performed by 8 rats to some fake trees.
Oh yes, that's
Oh
right.
yes, that was fun.
And I'm sure that's not at all related to the 8 rats they then skewered and served up to the party when they arrived back from their time travel.
Yep.
Because we got them before the other thing happened.
Yep. Totally. But
Coincidence.
no ways. That's my motto. Yeah, Valen, that's how you got out of the Feyrealm. Genrick had to bargain his way out.
And he didn't lose anything, but I don't believe that.
Only his dignity.
So Valen got to witness the glory that is the comedic recitation of Genrick's life, and with a focus on his past mistakes.
I'm sure it was considered a squeaker.
I would make one modification without the idea, the reference to the words and the graves of the hollow world, the world. You mentioned they're from the hollow world. Technically, when actually the Kettle did live in this land previously, that's the video. The hollow world is the location inside this world where the gods have preserved restoration. So they still get along living out in the hollow world, but they're living there because they got wiped out on the top world.
Ideals. Cool. Thanks for the clarification.
And again, like obviously they call a player and the character understanding of how the hollow world works in that sort of way. Dimitri obviously to explain in great detail.
Yes, and he'd probably refer to Ka the Preserver, the Tyrannosaurus god, who set that place up.
Awesome.
And also the instigator that started the war.
That's right, yes. It was Ka the Preserver effectively supporting the upstart Immortals against the true gods, they would consider themselves, that allowed the younger Immortals to actually put up pots.
Yes, the sun god wasn't permitted to take on the T-Rex god because of they don't belong in the same sphere, and it would have started a free-for-all amongst all the gods who were actually in the one seating session at the time. So you'd have had 180 gods going to town on each other for petty rivalries. So that's why...
So instead they're using us as playthings.
Yes, the other way of killing a god is to erase them from memory. So if no one knows the name Galantry, which everyone in the region does, then no one can worship the god, and the god basically fades. And that's the other way of killing the god, is to kill their supporters and those who know of him.
That makes me think of Pratchett. I like
I was
this
thinking the
series.
same thing. Yep. Did I hear you correct when you said T-Rex god?
Yep.
I was also wondering about that.
I'm not surprised by anything at the moment.
as in not the god of T-Rectors,
Oh,
and not the T-Rex that became the god.
of course, that makes more sense.
As in, he was effectively the first creature, I'll say, at the time that he was existing, which he's forgotten. He was the only sentient being in the world at the time. And
There it is.
they developed a lonely place for him, and eventually became an immortal, and decided that part of his role was to preserve things when the world changed. Because the world was constantly changing, but he wanted to keep some things, as much as possible, cultures and creatures, and that sort of thing. So there's a picture of some of the immortals, including
Love it.
in the form of T-Rex.
And just so you know, the one called Ixion there is the sun god. And so those two with their heads touching are pretty much the two that started the war. And the war was started with one saying no to the other.
Sounds like God.
But it was Clark saying no. He was obviously like he said no on the idea of not that he agreed with the immortal the juniors who he was trying to eliminate, but because he was basically the classic statement of I don't agree with you, but I protect and stand up for your right to disagree. So,
And there are some of the Norse gods there, including the three-headed dragon god.
None of those are mine, but they're good.
Yeah, that they have interesting notations on these gods here to give you some idea of what you're facing. Though the big one there for your pantheon is the fact that Odin is definitely featured in there as the head of all the Norse gods.
Yeah.
So he does play a part in the stories.
Cool.
Though when
he also
go ahead.
He not only plays part in a lot of stories, but he plays a somewhat behind the scenes role for some cases on the fact that he's not necessarily the apparent protagonist or leader of heroes or something, because they follow him but under a different name.
And
Sounds like Odin.
three of those are quite important to the storyline. The one on the end is the god Rad. You got the god Thanatos, who's known as the Grim Reaper, and you've got Valerie's the goddess of love. So the goddess of love is working with Ixion to take down the upstart Immortals. And so you have a lot of people very passionate about taking out Galantry and anyone who protects it. So all these interesting things happening in the background. So currently you're at Rollstone Keep thinking about how you were going to make your way out. The talk was you're going to go via Mallowfern, Wear Scalot, and then Fire Rock before making yourself over to Riverfork Keep.
Yep. I'm happy to go.
Okay, so everyone has no problems getting their morning fish food. There's lots of fish food available.
Yes.
Fish.
Oh, Valen, that's the other thing. The halflings were fighting the Forgoon.
Were they really fighting them? It was more like they were harvesting them.
Yes.
Some of the PCs take some fun shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
Uh,
Wasn't it Jedrick and I who were just taking pot shots at them with our bows?
and Trellin.
And
Showing off with some long range big shot.
that's right, it was Terrell and I.
And yes, so you've all been given a sack full of supply of fish food to keep you well fed on your journey.
I've made a note for myself this time to roll for my prescient vision so I don't forget it. Just to save it off. Otherwise I will completely forget it.
Yes, it's like, I've got this ability, when did I use it?
Yeah.
Once.
Start of each day.
Okay, what do you roll?
A 7.
A 7. There's something safe.
Well, on the bright side,
Okay.
he can give it to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the 3 from last time.
I didn't get to use it, but yes.
No. I think I probably, first thing, I would have woken up early and run down to the kitchen to talk to the chef and see how he's preparing the food.
He's always does it with a lot of skill and patience, making sure he's gotten rid of all the bones and other parts that are used for various ingredients.
I'm just taking every opportunity to learn.
And he hands you a knife and runs you through how to prepare food.
Excellent.
Especially Shahugan,
Excellent.
where not a piece of the creature is wasted.
That's the way to do it.
Okay, so by the time the others get up, there is quite a nice pile of fish and chips waiting for them.
Make you quite happily part-time.
Well, it is all, as usual, exquisite.
Mm-hmm.
You have yet to have a dish that has been distasteful from the chef.
I like that think about it after walk through the box.
Well, it is.
Well,
Go ahead.
so far, I seem to be doing the cooking and foraging, so I'm trying to build my skills so that we can keep having good food.
And he does make a lot of delicacies out of all the parts. So you realise that some of the things you have bought in the past were probably made using these methods.
Awesome.
And it does suit the waste not, want not mentality. Why kill something if you can't use it?
Exactly. Fits with my god, fits with my race.
And it's no wonder the halflings are all considered cannibal pirates. Though the cannibal side of the things is they do know how to prepare halflings as well. It's only cannibalistic if you eat your own species. So, you've all had get up. You find your horses and other mounts have all been well tended to during your rest.
Haven't been eaten.
Nope, haven't been eaten because they're not dead yet. But hey, if you don't want your mount, they're more than happy to experiment.
No, I think I prefer to keep it.
They're not vicious for the sake of vicious, they're vicious when it is necessary.
Probably Vidrig would be getting a big cuddle when I come down, and a pat.
And your mount seems very happy, looks well brushed, better than you've had time to do of late, and well rested.
Excellent.
And looks like feet have all been tended to correctly, and any damage to your gear has been artfully repaired.
Brilliant. I'm enjoying the halflings.
Well,
Oh no, they couldn't have it. Not this time.
True. I do need to look up that gnome who knows how to do the underwater fire at some point.
You do. Okay, so you all get yourselves ready to go, and the cook says it should be 4 days travel, as he will be stopping in Mellowfern, Werescalot, Fire Rock before reaching Riverfork Keep, though the trip to Riverfork Keep will be the longest.
Obviously to meet to some of the expansions before we head off. Good afternoon, we someone's good during the short breaks every hour or so.
And you're finding it quite tedious having the chef walk on his own feet and making everyone slow down and enjoy the roses as they go. Because he does insist on walking the whole way.
Dimitri's not in any hurry, but I'm sure it's not walking.
We saved a lot of money. That saved a lot of time.
Yeah. So is this a halfling thing or just a chef thing?
Oh, he not all halflings mind riding, but he either prefers the ground under his feet or a ship. Does not like riding animals.
I'll probably be ranging around, scouting around. I'm not expecting much in the way of trouble on the main road.
Okay, so when you make it to Mellowfern, you do see that this is one of the busy and prosperous villages. And there are lots and lots of stalls throughout the streets with vendors selling trinkets, food, clothing, more food, snake oil, lots more food. And potentially even more food. As about every stall has some sort of food aspect to their sales.
How's the wine?
When you're halfway, the difference between dog is at least 5 minutes. Obviously, you need more food.
Okay, so they do have quite a few halfling wines here, though in a majority of cases it's not alcoholic because all their alcohol generally doesn't last that long.
Yeah. I think Balin's just going to peruse, I think.
I'm probably going around to the different stalls and checking out for like preserved foods or spices or stuff like that that can be carried and help enliven what you can find on the trail.
Okay, so you find amongst all the stalls that there are spices from all over the world. It seems that it's the halfling trade good is exotic spice.
So I'd probably try and find some that I wouldn't know that I want to experiment with, and also look for some from the northern reaches for that taste of home.
It seems that when I'm talking about spices being available everywhere, you notice that's what they're using to pay for nearly every good they buy.
Ah.
So the more exotic the spice, the more it's worth to the seller.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you can bargain back for spices, but in most cases they're about 10 times the cost you would buy them on the street.
Yeah, I might not then. I don't think I have much in the way of spices on me.
They are willing to sell you spices, but you realize that for them that's taking a lot of the fun out of their trade.
Then I could trade some rodents of unusual side tails and jerky.
They're more than happy to take that as trade.
Or furs.
They will take that as well. They do have clothing stores with leather goods, furniture makers, pottery, embroidery places.
What would I be able to get get for 16 ROUS furs and tails?
Okay, so they would probably get you the equivalent of 50 gold worth of spices. So basically, consider it a pouch full of maybe 10 to 15 exotic spices.
Excellent.
And you also find out the reason this town is called Mallowfern is the entire town is built amongst fernery. Most of the buildings are built into the base of the trees. And if you were to look at this town from above, all you'd see is the roads coming in, meeting and going back out again.
Oh, nice.
And the biggest store in town is a perfume shop. And on the edge of town is the Wizard's Wand, a inn where you see a human actually working behind the bar. This is where your chef has taken you to lodge for the night.
Excellent.
Introduces herself as Beric Shindel. And basically is one of the humans that has been looked after by the halflings. And you are introduced to her wife, Abigail Rallytongue. So you have the option to stay at a halfling hotel down the road, as long as you can squeeze into the rooms.
I'd be quite happy at the inn.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I think so.
Do they have booze?
Yeah, they have booze.
Awesome.
So basically, booze is available with every meal as part of the meal.
Brilliant.
So where you're used to buying booze and getting food in the northern reaches, so you stay sober enough to buy more booze. Here they seem to be giving booze as part of the meal, so you can savour the meal better, and the booze is tailored to the meal.
Is it at least strong booze?
It's flavourful.
Okay.
They don't go for the knock you out, get roaring drunk. They go for interesting combinations and making the dining experience more interesting.
Right.
Though they do say you are welcome to choose your own wines and meads or beers. Though the chef does look a little disappointed at anyone who goes to change the menu.
I think at this point I would experiment with the taste, but slightly complain that it's weak.
No, definitely going for whatever's recommended.
Okay, so there are multiple meals, and most of them are based around pork. You're not exactly sure what part of the pig was used, but it's all delicious.
There's
So
been
to request a flight mini dish.
this particularly the double
Well, to the halflings, all pork is long.
Now, is this pork from a pig, or did they just put a P in front of the orc meat?
Orc meat, they say, is a little more gamey and sometimes toxic, depending on what the orc had been eating recently. And if you're looking for orc meat, they recommend going up to Atruaghin village, because that's where most of that sort of meals are performed.
I'll keep that in mind.
But hey, that is right on the border of orc land, so of course many orcs join the meal.
At least to be fresh.
Always, they don't like using roadkill, as they call it, though waste not, want not is also a saying they use a lot.
I understand the philosophy.
This seems like the punctuation thing of let's eat grandma. Punctuation is important.
Yeah.
It is a interesting thing. Punctuation and grammar really does have different meanings here if you look close enough. And many a human has learnt not to look close enough. So they have, while you're eating, there is a few performances done up on stage of telling tales of bygone days. A lot of them deal with killing dwarves, killing orcs, killing humans, and basically how enslaving people is wrong. But hey, there is still a lot of anger in the community over what has been done to them, and many here throw a lot of curses towards the Black Eagle Barony as one of the main enemies of the Shire. At any time the name of the Black Eagle Barony or Bargle is spoken in the story, you hear the sound of all the halflings in the town spitting on the ground. It's definitely a very bad curse word in the region.
Great music playing to the non-Carolinians in the party. They're justified in their belief.
Okay, so most of you don't really notice the time passing before you wake up still at the table with the rising of the sun.
Dimitri's likely to have gone to bed relatively early.
Well, our elves sort of got into a sort of reverie where they were just enjoying the music, enjoying the food, enjoying the drink, and then the next thing they know, it's morning.
Yeah.
And Hilderon is snoring soundly away.
Yep. And once awake is now preparing her spells.
And you sort of realize that the alcohol, while it didn't feel very strong, had a bit of a hidden kick in it.
Nice.
So you had a little bit more than you intended. You would have stopped if it had given an early kick, which most of the nice stuff do. They like to kick you in the face as you drink it. Apparently the halfling ones like to come up from behind and get you while you're not paying attention.
Sat me over the head.
Sounds like sound halfling tactics.
Yes, by the time you notice you've had too much, it's too late.
I think I feel a little more respect for them.
And you notice that the chef went through about 10 times as much as everyone else. He loves his alcohol. But hey, he grew up on it.
Yep.
So, as you look outside of the inn, the entire village is engulfed in a fine fog. Very much feels like a whiteout as you step outside.
If I look at the people around and the chef and stuff, does it look like it's something unusual or just something that happens in this area?
You have a feeling it happens every morning with the amount of mildew around, and that nearly every person coming out of the fog has a heavy cloak on.
Awesome.
Okay.
But it does make it hard for other people to attack the place at morning because, hey, they can't find the place.
Oh, quick question.
Yep.
How much money would we have had? And is there somewhere I'd be able to get a 300 gold diamond around?
You would normally be able to get something like that from the markets.
Is this for a particular like a gold component that
Yeah, Riverfork.
which you've had for a while?
I have access to it. I hadn't picked it for a while, but I might have had a diamond on me when I met you guys.
I mean, I think probably go with the sexy because it's a spell that you've had access to for some time, and you've likely used it before in the past.
Probably.
Then,
You're likely to have a couple of components for each of your spells on you.
Cool.
300 gold is not necessarily a significant total for a possible half character. So.
The hard part is when the component is consumed with every casting. That's where it gets painful.
See, that's what Riverfork has.
The diamond you consume.
Yep. So, DM, would I have been able to come with a couple of 300 gold diamonds, or?
I will say yes.
Excellent. Because it's only like a 3rd level spell, so. Brilliant. Added that to my inventory. Excellent. As I said, I took the time to manage my spells.
Okay, so as you're getting ready to go and the light really starts to pick up, you see the mist turn to a light blue color. Rather rare event in most places to see the mist of non-white.
Again, I'm sort of looking around at the people, trying to figure out how I should be responding to this.
Most of them seem to be stopping occasionally, pausing to enjoy the sights, and then getting back to work.
So it doesn't seem like a threat.
Does not seem like a threat.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think I've probably picked up enough of Children's mannerisms to be looking for her to see if she's panicking or not. If she looks happy, I'll be happy.
But hey, the halflings may be having fun at your expense because, hey, they may literally just watch as the tall people get themselves into trouble at their own expense.
Well, because the poor people can look over the mist. I actually you a bit of myself. In fact, it's even easier for you to have the diamond bundle because it's actually 300 gold worth of diamonds. So you're not just going to find equivalent to diamonds. It's
Just 300 gold worth.
Yeah. That was so difficult for you to maintain. So.
Cool. Krista would probably seeing the blue mist, take a deep breath, and then turn to Dimitri and go, "Do you know of this phenomenon, Dimitri? I've never seen it in the northern reaches."
First of all, yes. I mean, Dimitri has spent some time in the high shires, not a few amounts of time. That can happen before he's experienced on the month.
Only happens in this town.
In this particular town, okay. I don't know whether we could leave this town or not, off the top of my head. So,
And you'd have to be here in the morning, not just passing through.
yeah. So, you'll know with an explanation about the fact that, yes, the relating to some of the industry in town causes a nice makes an effect on the morning mist. So
Your chef speaks up and says, particularly the perfumery.
Interesting.
Dimitri's just annoyed at the fact that you might have to modify his phantom steed slightly to make that to help it hide in the mist.
Well, the deer is a white steed, so I'm fairly good.
Well, I was thinking that it would be quite amusing to phantom steed in the mist. Yeah, Dimitri's floating on there. It'd be great. But he wants to make it a slightly blue phantom steed.
Just when you dismount, you might not find it again.
So as you get yourselves ready to go, you are greeted by one of the sheriffs that you'd met on the way in. Just so I get a description of them, as long as I can actually find the page without losing what I'm doing. Okay.
I'd probably step back and let one of the more talkative people go.
Dimitri was going to be happy to greet the sheriff again. And
Okay, so you're greeted by... she introduces herself as Sheriff Little Laughs.
Thank you, really. Morning, Sheriff. Pleased to see you again. You'll know Cafe Fallon. I can feel the murder again the last 2 days.
Technically, he committed it about 50 times last night. The night before, she said. But it was sanctioned murder.
I took in the proceeds of murder, not fancy murder.
Well, it was sanctioned murder.
He and I killed about 50 of the fish people together.
No, he was there for that. So this is the idea of shit girl like meeting.
Oh, I thought you meant since the last time he was brought up to answer for his actions.
No. He's referring to the idea that people like doing that.
Okay, so amongst the halflings, she does look quite fierce and quite forceful in her personality. Most of the other halflings just give her deference around. The only person who doesn't seem intimidated by her is the chef.
Is she armed?
Yes, she does have a fairly intricate-looking short bow.
Okay. Anything else?
You can tell by the short bow that it has actually been made from the bones of humans. And you believe it's human hair used in the strands.
After our experience with the stealthiness of the halflings, Hildren's probably stand towards the back of the group and looking around to make sure we're not going to have any more pop up out of nowhere.
No, she came in through the door while you were all enjoying the mist. Now she says she's on her way back to her main seat in Wescalot.
Well, I guess we will likely see you on the road, or possibly do some travel and trade tales on the pathway.
Sure, she would like to hear the tales of the rats.
I'm sure that my friend would be more than happy to orate and we've got over my head. When the tail gets bigger, you can tell it. But yes. I'm sure I'm going to have to entertain you on the way.
A bit of hyperbolic legend.
And the good thing is, she says that the fog will lift shortly and we should be able to head out. Having followed you.
She's kind of a word, but not quite a word. Brag and boast.
Well, boasting is a national pastime, she says.
Well, that's exactly why Dimitri was specifically saying the fact that yes, they would be willing to orate and that yes, exactly. This particular word I'm trying to think of, but it's completely blown out of my head.
Is she talking about the furs and tails that I bartered with yesterday?
She is.
Yeah.
Because that's gone around the town like wildfire.
Okay.
Did she appear to have a amount that she's getting ready to, or is she going to be walking as well?
Well, she's going to be walking. She's an important person. She doesn't need someone else to carry her.
No, exactly. That's my assumption was that she would be walking and therefore traveling at the same speed as the ship, and therefore would have no reason not to have accompany us, and therefore also help eliminate any questions or concerns along the way.
But she will be travelling with her war pig, she says.
Okay. Well, so that's going to bother to mention it. He's traveled with West or Judge.
Well, she's heard of goats being fairly ornery, but she does say that pigs do surpass them in intellect.
Well, it would be hard for some of the goats, but relatively the goats that went to road to make it a statement with the private knowledge, so that yes, and the place was well.
It really made some interesting conversations after the fact. Okay, so the day's travel, if you're all ready to go, unless you want to do something else.
I'm good, but I probably wouldn't be telling the story of the rats. I'd probably leave that up to Durban, and I'd be doing scouting, but also paying close attention to Sheriff Little Laughs. I'd be quieter than I have been for the last couple of days.
Canberra is definitely not mentioning the rats.
Balin is just trying to keep her off track by mentioning and trying to just make a conversation about how her craft, how she managed to craft a bow out of human bones, etc., how she manages to train a war pig.
Well, you do find out that she's made the bow out of the bones of her enemies. Always looking for another source of material, she says, eyeing you carefully.
You must show me how to do that sometime. Got a few chips on my shoulder.
But she does say that the bow does work better against those it's made from. If you're gonna hunt humans, use a bow made of humans.
Sounds reasonable.
There are no elves living here anymore, so we don't need any elf bows.
Is she able to actually provide any instructions to Valen, just out of curiosity?
No, she completely skirts the topic and jumps towards, about those rats.
Well, don't find me happy to talk to her about how they went and hunted them at least in the forest. I'll leave the other bits up to other people. Fill in.
Well, technically, it was only 2 weeks ago she had a hunting event, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because 2 other people who saw the performance.
Okay, so you spend what you'd think would have been a longer portion of the day travelling, but it really wasn't that long. And you arrive in Westcott to the cheers of the people as they seem to all come out of their houses to cheer on the sheriff and their chef.
Yep. And the sheriff and the chef didn't get along quite well, do they?
They do. Though the chef has always got an eye on... the sheriff always has an eye on the chef no matter where the chef is.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't seem to want to turn her back to him at any point.
So a wary eye, not an admiring eye.
A wary eye for sure.
A watchman's eye.
Well, a retired dread pirate is a rare occurrence, she says.
Yes. They really live long enough to read on that.
They really want to retire, she says.
So what's Westcott like, other than people coming out to greet the chef and the sheriff?
Okay, so as you come in, unlike what you've heard of most of the shires, all the halflings here live in stone buildings. You can tell that they're stone, but they seem to be held together by mud and wood. And a lot of them are 3 to 4 stories tall, with circular platforms on the outside, balconies at every level.
Mm-hmm.
And on those... Go ahead, Jeremy.
When you say 3 to 4 stories tall, each story is about half the height of what we might expect.
That's true.
Yeah.
But for a halfling's perspective, it's still 3 to 4 stories tall, and on each story,
Absolutely.
They have gardens where they're growing food.
Mm-hmm. And it can appear that the stonework is defensive in nature, or just convenient for making multi-story buildings as opposed to building out of wood.
Well, it does look as if they're very defensible, because you'd have to be a small creature to actually get past the gardens and into the building.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm looking for the fact that it's somewhat close to the, obviously it's on the borderlands like the Wellstone Keep, but it is a near border town. So
And by the looks of things, they can literally retreat into their houses and shoot through from the balconies where most of their enemies can't get them.
Mm-hmm.
They are definitely designed with defenses and food growth in mind. You can't see any water sources at all.
Do they either be effectively having expensive ducting system and or tank on the nuggets or things like that?
They don't seem to have any water tanks at all, but you can see a fine mist of rain falling on some of the plants.
Mm-hmm. So when you say falling on some of the plants, the mist is apparently concentrated to the balcony. It's not a mist over the entire house.
It is a mist only on the balconies above the food, above the plants. Looks as if they have an irrigation system built into each of the houses.
Or maybe people make it.
They could have a bore in the center of each house.
You actually get a nod from Sheriff Little Laughs. She does say that each dwelling has their own water source, which they then funnel into the rest of the building and through manual labor pump it out onto the balconies. Also, they can use it in a defensive manner if someone tries to set fire to their buildings. They can actually put out any fire on the building as needed.
So it's very much set up for siege defense.
It is, but also very practical to grow food.
Yes.
That's pretty smart.
Well, she said they come across some of the teachings of the dwarves and the gnomes and adapted it for their uses. They have no need to make weapons of war. And most of them don't deal in nature magic because, to be honest, there's not enough druids in the world to meet the demands that the Five Shires would have on them. Plus, some of the halflings would feel using magic is cheating. Okay.
What sort of? I was going to say, what sort of demand are we talking about?
If you're talking about demand for magic to help things grow, every halfling in the nation has their own tended field that they deal with.
Oh, right. Okay.
And so you could imagine, pick any nation in the world and then say you need a druid to grow their food, and you might need one druid for every 1 to 2 people, maybe 1 to 10 people, depending on how much they're trying to grow.
Okay. Yep.
And when you think of maybe more than 10% of the population being druidic, it would be quite a large populations of druids just to maintain what the halflings grow.
Oh, yeah.
They wouldn't object to using nature magic too much in that way, but it does take away from their feeling of achievement if they didn't work for it.
Okay, makes sense.
Does Westlock have a long legs cabin slash inn?
They do. So the inns that they are recommending is the Shire Watch Inn and the Old Trees Inn. The sheriff does recommend the Old Trees Inn to you, as if you stop at the Shire Watch Inn, you'll definitely wake up with less than you went in with.
I like to sound of old trees more.
Well, it's like getting a kind of technically you're in the hands of the chair.
So he's likely to take you to one of the taverns, being the Flagon at Dawn, the Maiden's Kiss, or the Hunting Hen. Though he does favour the Hunting Hen, as it was one of his old hangouts as a child, he says.
Yes. But they haven't brought it in. They're not going to have room for that.
He says, you didn't need rooms the night before, with a wink.
But he certainly took to his word earlier, but he's suggesting that, well, yes, we'll go to the inn the sheriff suggested, obtain board for the night, and then if the others wish to go frequently to the tavern, that's fine. Dimitri will stay in the common room with the inn and for a few hours and listen to the locker, find some knowledge and information to those that need to know it. But otherwise, I quite know.
No better place to find gossip than around drunken people.
Yeah. I mean, that make you just feel like crouching or sitting on the floor for that, doesn't it?
I'll happily go to the... What was it? The Hunters?
The Hunting Hen.
I'm assuming that key with H-I-double-N?
H-I-N.
Yeah.
Very much a... Go right ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, he being the halfling word for humans, I think that
Quite possibly, I actually have a glossary here somewhere that I could look up later. Okay, so...
I'm sure that he is one of the races.
And you do see that all the chairs in the Halfling Hen have beautiful leather, soft to the touch, very supple.
Well, that's what I from it. I'll get to.
All good. Probably one of the most comfortable chairs you've ever sat in while you're there.
Why is that making me suspicious?
The mimic.
Based on the name, it's probably human skin, so...
I was just about to ask that.
Well, hey, human skin is quite useful to make things like that if you know how.
Hey, all skin is useful.
Mm-hmm.
Yummy, yummy skin.
I wouldn't eat it, but... I'm sure up in my hometown we'd have troll and orc and stuff. Leathers.
You do. They sort of, you even have the equivalent of bearskin rugs from other races.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this
down and just like make himself at home. This is awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, this time around, I think probably drink half as much.
Swat? Okay.
Okay, so you actually see that nearly every drink on the menu has a chili or some sort of spice added to it.
Sounds fun.
And most of the halflings here look as if they're able to breathe smoke out as they're drinking.
I would try it, but I would assume my character's not that familiar with chili and sort of thing.
Well, you could have tried it over time because, hey, elves really do have a lot of time on their hands.
I'll probably try it, but yeah, not a regular thing.
That they have all their drinks marked with either no skulls, which is considered their tame version, and it goes all the way up to 5 skulls.
I think Hildred, rolled a constitution check to see how much spice I think Hildred would be able to handle. And at 15, I think she'd probably sit about 3 flames. 3 skulls.
I was going to say, I'd probably get a 0 for me, and I'll go and get a 5 for Hildred just to see what happens.
I'd try it.
Okay, so on the 0 for you, your tongue feels like it has been dipped in boiling tar.
Oh no.
And you find it very hard to talk straight afterwards. It's like you've got a numb tongue. And that's their 0 strength, by the way.
Oh, this will be fun.
Hilderon gets her 3 strength one, drinks it, and on the 15 check, her eyes are watering incessantly, and she's having trouble just getting air in at the amount of pain her tongue is causing.
Yeah, this would probably still just be making me laugh. And excited.
And
the sheriff's not around, is she?
No, she doesn't frequent this place because, well, she'd have to arrest half the customers.
Cool. So I'm probably lightening up and talking more than I was in the previous day's travel.
And after having your first sip, you find you can't even get a word out. Your tongue just doesn't work. It's like it's just stopped working and died.
I take another big swig.
Okay. This time you feel your entire throat start to close up over the strength of the drink. Give me a fortitude saving throw.
Constitution?
Constitution saving throw, yes. I run too many systems.
That's okay. Not great. 7.
Okay, so you managed to pass out with the 3 skull drink as a 5 skull drink has been put in its place.
What was that, Hildred? I didn't quite catch that.
I'm passed out, so.
Yeah.
But I've got a huge smile on my face.
And you do see the chef notice that you're drunk, just pick up your drink and down it.
Not so much drunk, as apparently passed out from chili.
And he does burp out a flame about 1/2 meter. Quite proud of himself at that.
Valen and Genrick, you're not going to partake?
Genrick will get a 4.
Thought so.
Okay, Genrick gets to make a Constitution saving throw.
Just saving throw. I can do those. Constitution is. Roll it. Yep. 9.
Okay, so as you drink it, you're wondering why you decided to drink battery acid, as your tongue seems to shrivel up, and before you can get the word help out, you find yourself passed out on the table.
Yay! New record.
Okay, so I'm just going to duck to the bathroom, and then we'll find out what happens when you guys wake up.
Apparently you wake up.
Yeah, that's true.
Hildren will forever remind people that it wasn't the alcohol, it was the chili. No self-respecting Northern races person would ever pass out from such little alcohol. Genrick, you're not, Valen, you're not having a drink?
I was going to actually leave it up to the barman to just surprise me.
I'm going to give you a 5.
That sounds dangerous.
I'm going to say we'll hit the designated walker.
He's probably got the highest strength, probably the fighter. Unless they're a dex fighter.
Yeah, no, I'm dex based, so my strength is not great, and I'm passed out. So.
Okay, so you guys are only passed out for about an hour or so. By the time you wake up to the smell of cooking mushrooms.
Mm.
So I'll get each of the characters in the tavern to make a nature roll.
Nature, I think I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I am not.
I'm not bad.
I got a 12.
Nature dice.
No, I got a 9.
Natural 20 plus 4.
Okay, so 3 of you are going, that's an unusual mushroom smell, it smells delicious. Hildebrand recognizes them as death cap mushrooms, toxic to most races.
I'd look at the chef with a bit of a quizzical look.
Oh, he doesn't recommend trying the mushrooms, otherwise you might be on the menu tomorrow.
I will, yeah.
As you
I
notice,
will look pointedly at Toph and Generic and Valen.
as you notice, the halflings are more than happy to munch on the mushrooms. You have heard rumors that they don't seem to be affected by any form of mushroom toxin.
Curious.
Well, it does stop many people stealing their stuff if it turns out that they actually carry toxic mushrooms around with them and chew on them all the time. Here, try my mushroom.
Yeah.
Whoops, oh sorry, didn't realise it was toxic for you.
Oh, there's dinner sorted.
And it's got flavouring.
Is there anything, not going to kill us on the menu?
The drinks, he says. We don't
Well,
come
it's
here
very
to
skull, at least. I am interested to see what happens if someone drinks a 5 now. As in a non-halfling.
He would have 5, Denver had a 4, and Ian.
No, I had it at 3. I didn't make it to the 5. While we're in the tavern and stuff, can I just keep an ear out for any information?
Okay, so there's lots of talk about how the Fae in Riverfork Woods, or Arkelos Woods as they call it, are a little worse than normal, and they seem to be trying to steal from the Halflings' fields.
Cool.
Though they've had to dig out their books on Fae preparations.
With this, considering my knowledge of the Fae, would this sound unusual, or?
They normally don't have to forage in other people's territories.
Cool.
But over the years, things do happen, and it's hard to say exactly why Fae do stuff, because they don't exist in the same temporal timeline everyone else does.
Cool. Okay. I'm just taking note of it and
Yeah, it's
Curious.
still unusual.
Yes, because you can literally run into a Fae who's known you all their life, and this is the first time you've met them.
the Doctor Who.
Okay, so yes, you are encouraged back to the inn where Desrin is staying, so you can at least get a night's rest before heading out to Fire Rock.
Excellent.
There's not going to be a lot of accommodation after Westgallop. But the chef did want you to enjoy some of the delicacies of the region.
Awesome, but just as comfortable on the road.
So yes, on the plus side, the roof's a lot higher.
Yeah, there always are plus sides. Just making sure I keep track of the days so I know when you turn up in places.
Yeah.
Because when is almost as important as where.
Yeah.
In Dimitri's case, the when and the where is exactly the same.
Dimitri arrives where. Dimitri arrives.
To be at the time he's needed.
Yep. Try to remember. I was about to try and remember that quote.
Yeah.
He's like a wizard like
Never
that.
late or he arrives exactly when he's supposed to.
Exactly.
Fraction.
Okay, so you are all given a couple of extra bags of food, so when you're traveling, you're not going to have to forage.
I mean, I probably will, but not too much.
That's
Oh,
not the phone.
He does not recommend foraging in this region. He says, unfortunately, you don't seem to have immunities to most of the game.
Ah, okay.
And it's bad enough that most of the halflings don't forage in this region either. So all the yellow area of hills that you can see above Werskalot is considered toxic to even the halflings.
Right, cool.
That must be bad then.
And once you start heading out from Werskalot, you can actually see that big areas of fields have been burnt to the bedrock. Nothing seems to be growing in this region.
Oh, somebody beat me to it.
A literal scorched earth policy.
He does say that this is some of the work of the apprentices of Bargle.
Is the sheriff?
Like the fact that it was attacks in the land, or whether it was actually part of the halfling defense to ensure that nothing gets grown here but then it can be eaten somewhere else.
Would the sheriff have any more sort of information on this advance?
If the sheriff's still travelling, I would have already stopped at Westcott. She stopped at Westcott, wouldn't she?
She did stop at Werskalot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So the chef,
The ship might vote.
the chef does say that not many halflings like to talk about what happened here. So many lives were lost.
right. I'd probably be, again, scouting, a little more alert this time. Moving into an obviously more dangerous area.
So you actually feel the ground beneath you has that sense of death. There is no feeling of life as you're scouting.
I might expend a spell slot and do my primeval awareness, which senses, because I feel like the hairs on my back of my neck are up. Aberrations, celestials, dragons, demons, fae, fiend, and undead within 1 mile.
So you do get a tick on aberrations, you do get a tick on fiends, you do get a tick on dragons, but you don't get a tick on undead, which you're expecting.
Is the aberrations, fiend, and dragons, are they the usual that comes with doing primeval awareness around this party, or is it?
It is, but you sort of feel as if it's coming from more than just the party, for at least the aberrations.
Okay, cool. So I would ride back and relay this to the party. And suggest we're a little more alert.
Okay, so
Noted.
go ahead.
I said noted.
Okay, so as you travel through this area, It does have a road that takes you right to what appears to be some sort of ceremonial area where you can see 5 humans hanging in what appears to be a black flame.
I'd probably just look at Dimitri.
So we come across 5 humans apparently hanging in black flame.
That they are each hanging individually, and they are inside what appears to be a black flame each.
Clearly, it's an art installation.
And I can't remember whether Dimitri's had any contact before with the black flame, the halfling black flame.
Not really, because
as a player I had, but I can't remember who actually had it.
looking at it, you can actually see that the people look like they're at the point of starvation, and the black flame seems to be keeping them alive but burning.
But yeah, because I'm going to do like obviously part of the relics of the halflings that we're headed towards or going to encourage that collect. As I say, I've just got to prove that Dimitri's actually seen the black flame before.
And you see carved into each of their heads is the word wizard.
Ah. I'm scanning the horizon and my hands are resting on my scimitars.
Well, that's fine. I'm not a wizard.
The medical looks well, yes, it would appear that these are some of the miscreants involved in the scorched earth were caught up with, those apprentices of the Bible.
Oh, the chef says, yeah, they were caught about 10 years ago.
Never been burning ever since.
Well, they caused a lot of death and destruction. Wouldn't you want to punish them? Killing them was just too quick.
Genrick?
I didn't do it.
If you had a way of making someone pay for their crimes, would you do it? He asks.
Right. Yes, depends. I obviously don't know what the crimes were, so I can't say.
Punishment is harsh in the northern reaches.
Well, they were responsible for the death and brutal slaying of many halflings, including children.
And Dimitri sort of just given a switch in his hand, referring to reminding him of the scorched earth that we're walking through the water but they said was the work of Bible apprentices.
Yeah.
So when they finally let them die, their life forces will then renew the land, he says.
Sounds like a fitting justice to me.
Yeah, I was about the league was about to suggest until that was like the person, oh well, I guess that explains why it's not worth putting on the borderlands there. There's additional warning to those that might follow them.
Well, any that follow them get the same result, he says.
Oh yes, obviously, but yeah. So just the in the same sort of ways you get the hanging cages off the city walls of various towns.
I can't remember. Did we tell the halflings that who we're meeting is Barble?
You may have.
I don't recall.
Yeah. I can't remember off the top of my head either right now.
I'm just wondering if that's going to throw a wrench in our plans.
So, well, it certainly, well, it would be unlikely that Demetri would have volunteered the information.
We did say they'd get the relic, the pirate treasure back from the Black Baronies. I don't know if you meant Bargle.
So, but the next account, it's certainly not like Demetri's happy that we're given with Bargle either. So,
Well, I guess we see what happens.
so I don't recall the tale. I'm actually also remembering that, was it when we were talking to the Halflings just recently that, or maybe it was going through the Fey realm, that seemingly Demetri's thoughts were being read.
That was the chef was definitely reading your thoughts.
Yeah. I actually just I remember that as a player. I was suddenly looking back through some of the stolen things and thinking, hang on, is it worth having a mind blank for something like that going all the time?
I was just wondering if we should warn Bargle or not.
But yeah, so yes, in that idea, then presumably, at least the chef is aware that Bargle is the member who is apparently going to provide or surrender the relic, which then also would fit with the fact that from their perspective, Bargle was the one with the relic. So, yeah.
Though you also had the understanding that the person at the keep may not be the real Bargle, just one of his clones.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Which means the real Bargle could have it in the Black Eagle Barony and simply be misrepresenting himself.
So, Dimitri certainly expecting, really.
Okay, so the chef leads you to a rocky outcropping, which he quite easily goes underneath. And when you're able to squeeze in, you find it to be a nice-sized room where you can rest. They even have a store of bedding and a place for your mounts to rest up.
I would take note of this place for future reference if needed.
You're not sure you could find it easily? It has no landmarkings that you were able to determine compared to the rest of it, just that he seemed to know exactly where to walk to.
Right, I do have a thing, as a wanderer, I've got like advantage, like some extra skilled at geography and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying no landmarks or anything to note?
Nothing that made this outcropping any different than any of the 50 odd ones that looked the same to you earlier. You're sure it was part of the design to make it hard to find if you don't know the trick.
Just debating whether to try and leave a mark or not, but I'm not likely to be here for a negative reason.
Okay, so as you get ready to prepare for the night, you start to hear the 5 wizards start screaming as the sun starts to go down. Apparently,
maybe I should have prepared silence.
Apparently, they scream all night.
I did look at the spell of silence and decided not to prepare it.
Where would that ever be useful, you think?
I didn't think I'd be getting into fights with wizards at the moment, so I didn't prepare it.
And yet Bargle was in play.
True, but I feel like Bargle would probably be able to override my spells.
Only if he gets lucky.
Or he thinks it's worth it.
Okay.
Obviously, to make you understand it all and things like that before settling down.
Well, I can create a spell to mask it, but it's going to be louder. The only problem.
I'll happily take a watch tonight. I don't mind which one.
Right, same.
Okay, so you each take a turn at watch, and the night passes rather screamfully.
Just see if I can create the sound of running water just next to my ear. To help.
Dimitri's happy to let the juniors sort out the wash.
And yes, it is an interesting night, but you do get rest. And you can tell when morning comes because that's when the screaming stops. And it feels strange for the first 5 minutes of no scream. And a few of you don't particularly want to take the place of those wizards at any point.
No, probably not.
I'll cast Primeval Awareness again to see if I pick up any changes in direction or anything, or send in my sense of those aberrations I sensed yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you do sense aberrations, dragons, and fiends.
And Fae. Remember Dolphins is
Yes.
on Fae.
You do pick up Fae as well, yes.
But, so do I still sense those aberrations that don't seem part of the party?
You do.
Do they seem, well, the spell doesn't quite work like that, but does it seem stronger and closer, or?
That you have a feel that they are watchful.
Alright. I will, maintain my alert scouting throughout the travel for the day.
Okay, so getting up in the day, you can actually see the forested hills not far off, and right along the edge of what's called the Five Shires is a burned line through the ground. It's like someone had done a beam of fire and run it for many miles.
It's just in the middle of the ground, it's not different inside or anything like that.
Well, on one side of it, it's lush greenery. On the other side, it's just dead.
And we're on the death side?
You're on the death side.
So I'm assuming this is border?
The chef does say yes, that is the border over there. Once you step on the greenery, you will have left the Five Shires. Not something I have done for quite a few months, he says.
Valen's just going to quiz the chat on magic play. Sorry.
Go, Valen.
Valen's just going to quiz the chef on the magics at play. So the punishment that's caused the land to die around these people, why was that necessary?
They did not cause the death of the land. That was caused by those who suffer.
As in, the wizards are being punished for killing the land and the punishment being used is the black flame that is sacred to the halfling.
And they literally ripped the magic from the land itself to cause the devastation. So there is not even an ounce of magic left in most of the land, except for where the wizards are burning.
Can Valen actually perceive or see or hear anything untoward in the immediate area, like anything of a threat?
Well, you can hear bird calls coming from the trees on the other side of the line, but On this side of the line, you don't even hear a single animal call or even a bird soaring overhead.
Well, the bird calls are nice because it implies that the Ashen King isn't right over the other side of the border.
Unless his followers have learned how to use bird calls.
True.
But also, something else, like when the chef said that he hadn't left the Five Guys for some months, Demetra made the comment about the fact, well, hopefully this trip will make it worthwhile to recover the relic.
Yes, he was hoping to get some wizards to get on the way. Okay, so he says today's march will definitely be a long one.
But we should get to Riverfork Keep by the end of it.
We should get there after sunset as long as we leave at dawn.
Alright, let's go.
Very well.
Though he does say it would be considered a forced march. So most of you will be having to take fortitude checks to keep going if you're walking or riding. If you're riding, your mounts will, except for the phantasmal steed, which doesn't care.
Yep, I got no problem with that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He has no desire to set up camp anywhere near where the Foul Wizard may have set any sort of trap or spy or lure.
Cool. I'm gonna be.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say I'm gonna be particularly alert, knowing that the Ashen King was on this side of Riverfork Keep, and entirely trusting Bargle and his undead horde.
Yeah, okay. Demetra will be they've got similar awareness of the shift as the fact that, well, yep, Bargle may not be the only threat coming from this direction, in the sense that the Ashen King and the Bargle forces of hobgoblins were also sent up in this way, although I can't imagine there's anything left of the hobgoblins that were sent when we left.
Well, he doesn't believe that there's much of the hobgoblins that were sent to begin with, considering who they serve.
Exactly. And so there's Demetrius said, I can't imagine there's much left. You're like, no, actually, no. There's quite plenty of them left, and we'll meet them later. Except, of course, that part of the trap that Bartle had laid for them was the fact that they were going to explode when they got in the vicinity of the Ashen King.
Well, that he says that really does sound like what the wizard would do.
Absolutely.
Definitely great at what they refer to as the backstab maneuver. Always watch your back when dealing with him, he says. As you see him actually putting on some of his adventuring gear. He has a pair of what look to be ankle boots, except they don't actually cover his feet. But they do have little wings attached to them.
Ah.
And he has what looks like a chain with two blades on either end of it.
So I'm going to ride a little bit ahead of the party and try and keep an eye out, note for any signs of an army, or like where animals get quiet, though I know that the animals are going to be almost non-existent close to Riverfork Keep, but just any signs of danger.
Okay, so considering you've passed through Karamikos already, you find that on this borderland, there's just game everywhere. It looks as if all the game that was in the rest of the region may have been forced against this border region. But they
a little bit of foraging while I'm at it, but still alert.
would be unwilling to pass into the Deadlands because it doesn't feel right for most creatures, including mounts. But you think after a couple of miles, you probably won't encounter any game again.
Yeah, I'd probably do a little bit of hunting to supplement our supplies, but only sort of half-heartedly because I'm, again, more aware of what's around and really only go for things that are close by.
Well, it doesn't feel particularly satisfying because it's the equivalent of you throw a dagger, you're bound to hit 1 to 2 bunnies at the same time. They're that tightly packed together.
Yeah, but I always like to have extra supplies. You never know when you're going to need it.
Well, and it's the point is also, it's important that you try and thin them because otherwise they're going to starve.
True. Ecological balance.
Okay. So the rest of you come along behind, noticing that the animals are in large numbers just across the border. And you do also notice that in the sky above, there are definitely bats flying over this region of Karamikos.
If memory serves, they only had a few days' supply at the Riverfork Keep, didn't they?
They did because of not being able to get supplies through.
Which is part of the reason why not using the Ark was using undead army and not actually curing all of them, but we did leave them some supplies and they had enough staff there that they could be curing with the remove curse and remove disease capacity, but they were deliberately not going to be doing large numbers of them because they didn't have the supply and look after them.
And if I'm keeping track of what I've foraged over the journey, like I should still have like 3 or 4 days worth of forage if I count the hunting, the easy hunting I'm doing at the moment.
You can definitely gather some extra supply.
So yeah, I'd still have like 3 to 4 days of hunted and foraged food.
And you probably still have some of the fish food left over.
Well, we only had one night where we didn't eat at an inn, so we should still have some food and fish food and stuff.
And it's not like you've got to travel quickly because you're still travelling at the chef walking pace.
Yep. And yeah, if there's this much, I think, particularly because of my religion, I'd be like hunting as a form of practicing my religion, but I'd also understand the ecological balance and stuff, so I wouldn't feel guilty for easy hunting in this area.
And you do see that while you're now off the road, the chef is moving a lot faster than he was while on the road.
Yeah.
He seems less interested in stopping to smell the roses here and more about reaching a destination.
Yeah.
And instead of looking a little easygoing, he now looks and moves like a predator.
Mm-hmm.
So for most people, it looks like you've got a completely different halfling with you.
Mm-hmm.
Enough so that when he looks in your direction, you do definitely feel shivers. Okay, so what do people want to do while they're travelling to the keep? There are a lot of overland options for doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I would have asked Dimitri which way we should be going before I scouted ahead of it.
Well, I was assuming that your scouting ahead, but reporting back regularly, things like that. And
Yeah.
certainly keep people on the right path. But yes, so I'm guessing that the intent being that you're doing a overland activity.
Yeah, I'm scanning ahead, reporting back. Dropping off some meat.
Valen's just keeping vigilant guard as we travel.
Yeah, I think the same. Just sort of ready, just prepared for something to happen, even though I don't know what.
Well, you have reached a dangerous area because you know there are bad things happening here.
I also probably would have asked Dimitri first what would be signs of the Ashen King's army, like smoke. Because Dimitri, you've dealt with the Ashen King before, haven't you?
Yep, we have come across their forces on a couple of occasions.
So I would have asked you for what I should be looking out for.
Yeah, obviously, yes. Smoke, embers, is certainly being part of their standard appearances. But certainly, yeah, he has had different forces or followers. But yeah. Either way, I'm sure we will. You'll recognise what you said. But yeah, he will actually talk about the various bugbear kings if we had the sort of the ember swarm and I think what the creatures were that we've come across so far. So.
Have I noticed any signs of such, or any signs of the beginning of the undead area that seems to be surrounding Riverfork?
Well, you've now reached an area where things are about to happen, so you get to make a perception roll as you're scouting ahead as your overland action. Does mean that you have a chance of avoiding danger.
Not great, 15.
Okay. Okay, you definitely think across the river is far more dangerous than this side of the river.
I would ride back and report what I'm feeling, what I found, so on and so forth. How far out are we from Riverfork Keep?
You are currently journeying there.
So are we a couple hours away, 1 hour away?
You are doing the day's trip.
Yeah, okay. Like the point is this. We aren't necessarily a specific distance away, but it's the sort of thing that during the day being happen.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if...
Go on.
I'm just wondering if I should throw up a pass without trace.
How far away are we from the river? At least?
You start off about 16 miles away and you end up against the river.
I think as we approach the river, I'd probably pull up a pass without trace.
I was just going to say, well, I can do a detect thoughts and use a high level slot to sort of, I guess, increase the spell range to about a mile if we want to at any point in time. I don't know if it'll give. I don't think it'll give me a direction, but at least we know if
Something's around.
something's around.
Maybe it's a good idea to do both. That way we have a plus 10 to stealth if we come across anything.
Okay, so as you're traveling, you do come across something.
Oh no.
So you come across a building in the middle of nowhere. between a couple of hills. Not obvious until you walked between the hills. It looks like a roadside inn with no road.
Yeah.
It doesn't remind you of any style of dwelling you've seen. But you do recognize it as the roadside inn.
Is there any sign of movement or activity around the inn?
Besides Hildebrand, no.
Is it time for rest?
Well, the sun is now at the midday point. You can have your lunch break here if you wish to.
Before we do, I might throw up another primeval awareness.
Okay, so as you bring up the primeval awareness, you get a strong sense of fae, of dragons, of fiends, and
Stronger than normal?
It's almost as if your primeval awareness was a little dulled while you were traveling through the Deadlands.
Okay.
And while you felt it, because you were looking for it, it's like it's hitting you in the face at this point.
Alright.
Well, the dead magic areas do make things work oddly.
So if we want to stealth and check things out, as long as we're within 30 feet of me, I've got half of that free stealth.
I'll stick close.
So you bring up past without
Technically, we're still in the hills, aren't we? Not in the front, not in the front of the Axelos Woods.
You're in the forested hills north of the Angelos Woods. So
Yeah, okay.
I would put you in that square.
Yeah. But yes. Currently, well, it's not technically in the heavily focused part of it, but definitely focused enough that the Fae have influence. So,
And so who goes and investigates, or do you just sneak past?
I'll probably sidle up to Hilton and go, do you want to take a little bit of a closer look? I'm curious.
Always curious. Nice to, I'd always like to know what's out there.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I'll go with them.
I'll probably go too.
So we all get plus 10 to stealth.
Okay. And
you just hitching them out, go on the post outside and go through the front door.
Dimitri?
it's what Dimitri would do.
Dimitri, how about we leave the horses with you for a bit and we'll just go scout ahead?
Okay, because Dimitri obviously wouldn't hitch the horse up at the hitching post because he could just disappear. Oh, yeah. Go on, have a look.
Thank you for your graciousness.
We'll report back.
I'm assuming that Drazel and the chef are also happy to stand back and watch.
Oh, they are. You can see Drazel currently sketching the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so and
Dimitri required to be able to look over his shoulder and he'll go acting when he's not joining in the flames or explosions and things like that.
I would like to set the building on fire. Just going flames.
Let's stick with the stealth for now.
Yeah.
Hellfire, good idea.
So Dimitri does notice that Drazel has made notations relating to Traldar.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like a spelling mistake for Traldar.
No, okay, good, happy with that. And there's that then at thought process is that potentially make do we think, oh, hang on, yes, possibly the architect that is reminiscent of Baldar?
It is definitely reminiscent of the Bronze Age of the region.
Yeah.
As the others reach the building, and it still seems to be fairly well maintained. There's no grime, there's no overgrowth, there's no wear and tear. And the odd thing most of you note is that where you're expecting steels or iron to be used, there's only brass and bronze.
Interesting.
Sure.
I'm going to keep stealthing around. I rolled a stealth of 36.
Okay, so as far as the others are concerned, you've just disappeared.
I got a 26. Is it 27? Yeah, I got a 27.
I got 34.
Okay, so all of you disappear on each other.
How good are your individual perceptions?
My passive perception is 21.
So yes,
I'm going to share and scare them.
you have disappeared on each other. You don't know where the other one has gone.
Obviously, all the others have been stolen by this day.
My passive's 10, so I've got no idea.
Okay, so looking inside, the place looks cozy. It has a feeling of safety, and nothing here looks out of place except there's no people. There's no food on the tables. There's no fire in the fireplace. There's no smell of activity in the kitchens. It's just empty. Almost feels like the Deadlands, except that this is an inn.
I'd probably like to do just like a normal detect thoughts, so it's like 30-foot radius.
Okay, so as you're doing a detect thoughts, what is Hildebrand thinking?
Where is everyone?
She's so stealthy, she's not thinking.
Sorry, I just had to run to the bathroom. Probably Faye.
Okay, so as you're doing detect thoughts, you're getting Faye, 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 Faye.
I'm looking for any signs of anything that might be Faye.
And how about our other stealthy person? What are you thinking?
Probably just seeing how much of this building is flammable. Should he have to burn it down?
Okay, so you're getting a version of Burn Baby Burn in reference to the end.
I know who that is, yep. But nothing else?
No, you don't get a sense of another thoughts that you're reading.
When you say it feels a bit like the Deadlands, is it got that nature dead feeling, or is it just that it's quiet?
It has no feeling of life at all in the place. Which is what the Deadlands felt like. You're sure there was some life there, but it didn't feel like life.
And there's no signs or tracks or anything of any kind of living creature.
There are no insects, there are no bugs, there are no spiders or arachnids of any kind. So no cobwebs, no buzzing of creatures or skittering of creatures anywhere inside the inn.
I didn't feel any presence of undead.
You did not. But of course it might be a mimic.
Yes, it might be. Everything's a mimic.
Is Valen able to do an investigation for anything valuable that might be inside the inn?
Sure, you go in.
Yeah.
How'd you get in? Through the front door?
Actually, is the front door the only option?
Having a look around, they don't have anything but a rear door that appears to be locked. All the windows are well shuttered. Though you could try doing down the fireplace. I'm sure you can do a Santa Claus impersonation.
would he be able to peer through the windows without actually crossing the threshold?
You would, except that they are shuttered, and it's not easy to peer through wood. Though the design work and the workmanship is definitely not something you're used to. It's a bit cruder than most elves, but it is better than a lot of humans you've seen.
I assume it's shuttered from the inside.
It is locked from the inside, yes. If you're going to shutter something, you wouldn't really want it to be openable from the outside.
I think I'd probably return to the front door to wait to see if any of the others rock up. Not crossing the threshold, just posting up near the front door.
So anyone's casually poking around the perimeter first and meet you back at the front door.
Okay, so you're both surprised to find the other person at the front door. You didn't hear them get there.
This is making my hair stand on end. I think we should avoid it.
Yeah, I'm getting that vibe too.
I also agree.
But it's interesting.
You may think you were curious.
Hey, but I have well-known senses. You don't go into obvious traps.
It might be flammable.
That's my line.
So by this stage, does Dimitri head on up now that they're sort of standing at the threshold looking confused?
I'm not confused. I'm wary.
I didn't say you say from his perspective, not from yours.
True.
Yeah, okay. He's happy to let them have the opportunity. They said, I'm going to have a look inside. So,
The chef does point out that he doesn't think they're going to go inside. He lays 50 credits on the fact that they won't enter, or 50 gold that they won't enter.
He doesn't know Genrick. That Genrick's an idiot.
Alright.
Maybe we'll take that. And then call out to them. So, what's the order?
Okay, let me try something, and I'll just mage hand a knock on the door.
Okay.
I will step back.
Everyone hears a knock, knock, knock. And then
No
silence
changes.
as no one seems to be acting, as everyone's holding their breath, waiting to see what leaps out and kills them.
Well, to make you all give a few seconds. It's apparently a roadside inn. You don't actually need to knock. The hospitality is assumed.
Yeah.
Does anyone have detect magic?
It's not useful.
I probably do, just not prepared.
If no one answers, I'd use the mage hand to open the door while standing back.
Okay, there's not even a creak as the door slowly opens.
I didn't prepare any of my detect spells today.
I'm sure you won't need them. Not for long anyway.
Okay, I'm sort of standing guard on the others and looking wary and a bit disapproving of anybody stepping in, but I will protect.
Ladies first.
You're the one who opened the door.
Genrick walks in.
Okay.
Oh god.
He did
I
say
just
ladies
had a thought
first.
of something I could do, and you...
Too late.
Okay, after all this silence of waiting for things, you start to hear the sound of footsteps coming from inside. It's Genrick.
But yeah, so to make you turn the chef.
He had you 50 gold. He says he didn't think that anyone was dumb enough. He was wrong.
Yeah, well, I've done these guys a bit longer than you have.
That's okay. He pulls out one of his cookbooks, How to Prepare Elves.
Just I know Jenrick just walked in, but just as he was starting to do that, can I have cast Find Traps?
Sure.
So that's sense the presence of any trap within range that is in line of sight. A trap for the purpose of the spell includes anything that would inflict a sudden or unexpected effect you consider harmful or undesirable, which was specifically intended as such by its creator. Thus, the spell would sense an area affected by an alarm spell, a warding, or a mechanical pit trap, but would not reveal the natural weakness in the floor, an unstable ceiling, or an hidden sinkhole. It reveals that a trap is present. I don't know its location, but I do know the general nature of the danger posed by the trap.
Okay, Dimitri already cast that. He cast the advanced version. The command component was Garrett.
Oh, you have to remember that it's consumed on use.
I'm sure he can get more. Okay, so as you get the spell off, you were very disappointed. There are no traps in range. Maybe that's the trap.
I'll carefully follow in. I'll draw my scimitars, carefully follow in, keeping an eye on Genric.
Okay.
I was going to say, can we still see Genric when he walks in?
Yep. What does Genric do while he's inside this structure?
So he heard footsteps coming from further in the building, or was it his own footsteps?
It was his own footsteps, because they were hearing your footsteps entering the building.
Genric wasn't hearing them.
No, Genric was hearing. Genric was hearing his own footsteps. If he didn't hear his own footsteps, that would be even creepier.
Well, he might be stealthy, and his protection's not that good.
I'll just have a look around, see if there's anything worth taking out of the building in case of a fire.
I mean, Pass Without Trace is still up, so we can still be stealthy.
Okay, looking inside, it seems like this has a lot of ceramics behind the bar, and everything seems to be set up for service.
I wouldn't
look for anything valuable if possible.
I wouldn't eat anything here, Genric.
You wouldn't be sure if
the bell that I can press.
Okay. You go up to the table, the big bar where it seems that most of the stuff would be served from. It feels really much like someone has just moved out a large tree and bolted it into the ground at this point. And you can even feel the age rings in the wood quite clearly. Seems that whoever put this place together did it with a desire to showcase nature.
Can I just see invisibility? Do I have that? So that's probably a good thing to check before I ask if I can cast a spell.
You can ask if you can cast a spell, and you can look to not cast.
I've cast all of my detection type stuff, and I've got nothing.
I'm probably just sitting outside with a continuous detect thoughts just to see what Genric's actually and whoever actually thinking, looking at. So I don't have to go inside.
This is stupid. This is obviously a danger. Genric, what the fuck are we doing in here?
This place is built by people who appreciate nature. I thought you would appreciate it.
No, that's in my head. I'm not saying anything.
And Dimitri didn't provide telepathic bond amongst the group yet, so you don't get to hear each other's thoughts.
Oh no.
Which would be funny with a detect thoughts as you suddenly get an echo from a telepathic bond.
Yeah, no, Genric, all you see is me watching, like my eyes darting. I am the most alert you have seen me yet.
Everything here reminds you of a more advanced version of what the Norse people use, but with cruder tools.
I mean, I like the aesthetic. I'm just really, really concerned.
And with all the places you've been to, no one builds like this anymore. This doesn't look
Nope.
like it has been used as a design for maybe 1,000 years.
But it doesn't look aged at all.
It doesn't look aged. It still has that brand new feel to it.
It's just like a hipster place.
So Balin's pretty big on history. Can I do like a history check to see if there's like any sort of I don't know, any sort of insights that can be gained from this building?
Give me a history check.
Okay, no, that pretty much bombs. That was 7.
Oh, I'm sure you could ask Dimitri. I'm sure you hear that somewhere in the back of your mind, not by choice.
Is there any writing or anything we can see?
There is quite a lot of writing around. None of it is legible.
Legible or not in a language that we understand?
Well, that's why it's not legible.
So I've got Common, Elvish, Giant, Primordial, and Sylvan.
It is in none of those languages.
Okay. I'd look at the others and go, can any of you read this?
No.
Probably not if you couldn't read it, unless it's infernal.
It is not infernal.
I cannot read it.
Yeah. I've got Shadow Tongue and Draconic as well.
It's one of those times where you may have to ask the know-it-all outside.
It's not in Druidic, is it?
It is not in Druidic.
I'd probably ask Dothan if he could go and get... I'd sigh again and say, can you go get Dimitri?
Yep, sure. I'll head back. Actually, I'll stealth back to Dimitri just because it's fun.
Okay, so, does that mean you try to go out a window or the back? Because he's watching the front door, after all.
Oh, I
Dothan
didn't
can go inside.
I was sitting outside.
Okay, so yes, you can stealth to Dimitri quite easily then.
Just try to... I attempted to pop up next to him without him noticing, but who knows if I can or not. And just go...
You do see that the chef is watching your entire trip.
That's right, can I give him a wink?
You can. He basically is holding up a how to prepare elves cookbook.
Alright. So I'm just popping up next to Dimitri. Okay. Hildred would like to ask you a question.
What's in there? Is that good place to stop for lunch?
I don't know, I haven't seen inside yet. But there's some writing, I think, want to see if you could understand or decipher any of it.
Dimitri's happy to wander forward.
Okay.
So you're stealthy?
Sorry, what was it?
What was your stealth that you were working with? You were trying to actually sneak up on Dimitri?
34.
34?
It wouldn't be because we're outside the range, so it'd be down to 24.
In which case, yeah. You don't have to sneak up on him just because he's walking with everyone anyway. Dimitri can actually be pretty big. But yeah, so we'll he'll kick his fancy forward a bit and we'll go up to the place. Yeah, yes. It appeared to be nice example of parallel workmanship.
Well, looking at it, it actually looks to be from a design that looks more than 2,500 years old. Making it early Traldar, late Nithian design.
So can you read this stuff, Dimitri, or just be careful? This place still feels creepy.
Some wonderful demonstration of the architecture of the period. Obviously, what out of place in this location, understandably contained, but yeah. So what?
And the fact that it all looks brand new.
It has an honorific to the sun god written in a mixture of Nithian and Traldar.
Well, yeah. Dimitri will. Is this like above the bar or something? Is that the?
It is above the bar.
Yeah.
It's basically a greeting to all travellers seeking shelter from the night.
Make sure we're coming in. Nice example of the architecture. Perfectly appropriate greeting for those who wish to stop by. Yes. It would appear that there's no bar available. Any supplies?
There are no animals. There are no bugs. There is no life here.
Okay, well. But that doesn't answer the same question. Was there any supplies? Is it worth stopping for lunch?
I mean, we have food, but this place is unnatural.
You hear a banging sound coming from the kitchen.
Obviously it was unnatural. Obviously it's been said here, influence, possibly drawn through time to the current location.
I will walk towards the kitchen, again, stealthily, weapons in hand, and sneak a peek.
Okay, so someone has moved one of the chairs so they can stand up on it and start preparing some food. As you see, the chef actually carving up some of his supplies.
I guess we're eating here?
Dimitri's you've looked at in the kitchen area. Dimitri's looking around and thinking, looking at it from the engineering and history perspective of, oh, yes.
Is it a two-story building or a one-story building?
Yeah.
Like, are there any other rooms than where we are?
There is a level above and it appears to have a level below.
Okay, while they're preparing things, I might go look around and see if there's anything at all.
I gotta go downstairs. That's always
I'll go upstairs.
Okay, Dauphin goes down while Hildrun goes up. Of course, this is the perfect time to split the party, just like in the horror movies.
Hey, I've still got Pass Without Trace. I'm running on a 36 stealth.
Ganrick will stay where he is.
Valen's interest, is it a cellar that goes downstairs?
Well, heading downstairs, it does look as if you could actually put a wine cellar in here. It has the space for it, and it does feel chilled. You actually
going to race Dauphin downstairs.
you can actually start to see ice forming on your skin as you're moving through the underground area.
Before we split, I probably would have said to Dauphin, you were saying something about detect thoughts? Listen out for mine.
Yep.
Dimitri's pulled a chair out near one of the tables near the window, opened the shutter of the window to let the light in, and sit down and peruse the book.
And and as you're picking up the thoughts from the chef, it's about all the different cuts he needs to do to make the most of the meat on an elf's body once it's stayed. And it seems to have a picture of Dauphin in his mind as he's doing it.
Oh, that's curious. I think to myself, as Phelan runs past, or Jedrick. Who was it? I can't remember, sorry.
Yeah.
Phelan.
And so, yes, looking downstairs, it does seem that this place was designed to store and keep food. It still retains some form of cold magic. As Hilderon's going upstairs, you can actually see that a big portion of the roof overhead is made out of glass.
Cool.
And they do have some old telescopes set up here for observation. It looks like this may have been some form of observation post for whoever built it.
So is it one big room with a glass roof and some telescopes, or are there more rooms off to the sides?
There are lots of rooms off to the sides, and the room with the telescope is just one of those you come across.
I will take note of it and keep looking.
And all the rooms look weatherproof, but not particularly comfortable because there's no bedding or blankets or mattresses or anything like that. It's just wooden slabs to sleep on.
Okay. I would head back downstairs.
It looks as if anything worth taking from this place was taken when the people left it.
I would probably tell Dimitri about the telescopes in the observation area.
And as you're passing the kitchen, you're seeing that the chef is literally cooking stuff on the bench tops. You're not sure what's causing the heat, but things are literally frying on nothing.
I think I'd attribute that to him, not the building.
A bit curious about the telescopes that might be appropriate for this period, so you can have a look at the observation room.
Okay, looking at them, you have seen some of these designs before. Just these seem a little cruder, but just as powerful. They should definitely be able to clearly see the moons and potentially some of the constellations better.
Do they appear to be effectively on stands that are bolted down and located?
The telescopes look like it would probably take about 10 to 20 people to lift, if lucky.
Oh, okay, so, yeah, so we're talking observatory-sized telescope rather than, yeah.
Which is why a room is dedicated to the telescope.
Yeah. Speaking of walking around, make sure there's no record or like a book or things like that they were taking the observations at the time.
Well, there appears to be observation places to sit and watch, and it looks as if what is seen through the telescope can literally be projected onto the wall.
Yeah, so the military's looking to see whether they've actually got any records of the observations, like if they've got any book or note in the room.
There are none, but you can see where they would have obviously stuck some canvas or other form of paper to record their observations on the wall.
Yeah. You can obviously, Dimitri, looking at the fact, well, if there weren't, then you might be able to calculate exactly when the place was set up to be your things.
Looking at it, it is you would expect it to be before the downfall of Nithia, which does put it around the 12,500 to 12,000 years old. Sorry, 1,200, not 12,000. To 2,500 years old.
Has Drazzle joined us down here?
Looking around, you can see him happily sitting at one of the tables, writing in his book.
Okay.
Though the chairs were not suited to him, so he's just sitting on the ground while resting on the table as if he's sitting on a chair.
I'd probably find a seat that faces the room and like in the corner where I can see the room and door and stairs if possible.
You do feel as if these are children's chairs for you. They're definitely designed for people between 4 and 4.5 feet tall.
I will pull a table to the corner and sit on the table.
You can see why Drazzle has no problems sitting on the ground and working on the table. Okay, so what does Jenrid and Balin do after discovering that the lower area is mainly for food storage, but there's no food there?
Balin's very disappointed at the lack of alcoholic options.
Jenrid's just staring at the tree and he drinks on it.
As he's staring, he does get a feel that there is a lot of magic here. You'd be hard pressed to find a service building anywhere in most of the nations that seems to be as well built as this, to have lasted this amount of time, even among the dwarves. As this is literally more than 3 lifetimes of owls in age. It's rarely you come across something that makes you feel tiny and young.
This place is old.
The place is old and feels young.
Exactly, look brand new.
Dimitri, do you have detect magic?
So it almost feels like this place has the apparent age as you do to a human. So you're sure this will last for more than 10,000 years in this condition before it deteriorates.
Yes, the place reeks of magic. Why do you ask?
It's just trying to figure out what's going on.
You hear from the kitchen, it's food. That's what's going on, as he brings in a hot dish of fried fish and potatoes.
Okay, so assuming people are happy to go around the table and partake, Dimitri will basically answer the question that you asked. So, well, you remember the hilltop that we didn't stay at on our way to keep the other
Yes.
situation?
Okay. I'll still take a plate smaller than usual and go and sit at my table in the corner where I can see everything.
Yeah, I think as soon as I hear that there's food and stuff moving up the stairs again, I can see everything.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you that clearly. I've turned you down a bit as you came across quite loud. Could you say that again?
Sorry, my headphone sounds bad, so I'm using the microphone. Yeah, probably as soon as I know there's food, I'm coming upstairs.
Okay, so there is a lot of food put down for your immediate needs. It is well cooked, very spiced with an unusual flavour, which the chef does say is definitely not poisonous for you. Of course, not suspicious at all, considering he's still got open the How to Prepare Elves book.
I feel like I should have taken some chili poisons and stuff.
I didn't prepare a lesser restoration, so if you get poisoned, you're on your own.
Valen's just going to eye the dish suspiciously. Is he able to actually smell it just to try to determine what's actually in it?
Sure, give me a survival roll.
17.
Okay, so there's mushroom, fungus, and spices, all that you've never tasted before.
Hmm.
Do the mushrooms look like the death caps that I'm familiar with?
They do not look like the death caps. He did say he wasn't going to try to kill you.
True.
Like, what's the thing that I did mention that when the food came out, Demetri was sitting down and was starting to partake, and he was talking about the fact of, yeah, well, you remember that hilltop that we didn't stay at? And
No.
Demetri's quite happily eating the food because, hey, he knows that the chef can cook well, and hey, if he wanted the party dead, the party be dead. So,
Yeah, as I said, I was eating while sitting in that corner watching everything, so surely we would have had some effect by now.
Unless, of course, he's very good at preparing food that will only kill elves.
True.
Not suspicious whatsoever.
That's a test.
I assume that was a yes, you're happy to eat?
Yes.
Okay, so you tuck in, and it is definitely an unusual flavour. It does remind you of some of the specialty dishes of home, just done better. Which
Of
it is
whose home?
of his home.
Ah, okay.
Chef.
And you're quite surprised that he could actually prepare these dishes, which he says didn't actually come from your homeland. They came from places that your people had visited many centuries before.
That's definitely quite interesting. How do you come about working this?
Oh, he found out where the recipes first came from and went and spoke to the people who still practice the traditional forms of those foods.
Do you mind sharing with us?
He talks about a place far to the west on the coast of the continent you're on, so far away that most of you would never dream of making that trip in your lifetime. So I will bring up a map again to show you where it would be. It would be along this coast down here. and he does say it was discovered by the Sylvan Realm, which is around that location, before that was taken over by a mad wizard and destroyed. Well, your microphone really does make you sound distorted coming through it.
So I'm just saying, it's mad wizard, isn't it?
I got sorry and then distortion.
Yeah, couldn't catch that one.
I think it was comments about lots of wizards going mad.
That's why many races hate wizards. Okay, so after having a wonderful lunch and a mystery of a abandoned inn that hasn't eaten you yet.
Yeah, so while we're having lunch and sitting down there and so Dimitri was reading books, he was taking a bit of a back of the light outside, wondering, like checking to see whether or not the sun does appear to move. Because you wouldn't be surprised if effectively plunged through a while we did, because obviously everything else stands still.
You notice the sun is moving.
It is moving. Okay. So then, as we're finishing up, Dimitri will look towards the camp and say, well, do you wish to continue to keep on this afternoon, or would you prefer to take the opportunity for a rest stop here and therefore avoid any chance of arriving at the fort or travelling through the forest and hills? Because you seem concerned at the start of the day to get there before nightfall. You've had a nice stop.
Says now that we've had a nice stop, he would rather continue on. He doesn't feel that this sort of place would be left unattended for very long, and that nighttime would probably be the most dangerous here.
I'm quite happy to move on.
Yeah.
As you notice that none of your footprints are seen anywhere, even those who weren't under the Pass Without Trace. And after you've moved away from the tables, they seem to be back as they were before you entered.
How long have we spent having lunch?
About half an hour.
Pass Without Trace would still be up.
But for the whole party, or just some of you?
No, it's any of them within 30 feet of me.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, the meeting's happy to move on when people are ready.
I'm looking very twitchy and eager.
Yeah.
Okay, so the chef and Drazzle seem to be having some form of conversation.
Dimitri, he'll write a short note, leaving it on the bar, on the edge of the bar type stuff, basically under the statement that said, welcome to the visitors and travelers, and send a note saying, yes, hospitality is appreciated, thank you.
I'm probably half out the door.
Okay, so as you have received hospitality, and some of you are very Fey-wary, what do you do based on the fact that you have technically received hospitality from something you believe to be Fey-like?
I would try to leave something that I think the Fae might like.
I just thought I'd ask that before you stepped out of the door because of your character's background.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of what I have that they would like.
It's quite to make me let them know. What more could he possibly offer than his thanks? The appreciation of Dimitri is worth priceless.
What sort of things would I know that Fae tend to like? Like, I know they like to trade something important to you. I'm not giving up my holy symbol.
It has to be something that has meaning to you. It doesn't have to be something of value or monetary. If it doesn't have meaning to you, it doesn't matter how much it's worth. It has no meaning to them.
I'd probably have a
Some of your supply
trophy.
would probably have meaning to you because you had purposes to put it to, and you would collect them yourself.
Yeah, I might leave some of my fresh kills from my hunting on the way here.
Okay, so what about...
Put them down in the cold storage.
What about the other elves who would also be wary of accepting Fae favours without paying in kind? Because stepping outside would be to, if it was a Fae building, you would have accepted the favour without making payment.
I'm having a look at what I've got and it's not much.
You might not have much, but it still has to be something of meaning to you. The whole point is it means something to you, not monetary or stat-wise.
I've got, I think, a deck of playing cards that I could probably leave, which, yeah.
But they have meaning to you?
Well, Valen's background as a soldier, yeah, on battlefields and things like that, it's a common pastime to roll dice and play cards.
Each card has blood of a friend who died on it.
There you go.
So you've lost over 52 friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and you wipe the card, each one looks like life, don't they die in front of you? Oh yeah, I didn't think you did too much. You just got a 3 of clubs. You're my queen of hearts.
Well, hey, I'm quite happy to twist whatever you've got into some morbid way at the moment while you're in this place.
Yeah, I reckon Venom would just leave the card or the deck behind.
I'll probably try something slightly different and if this makes sense, I've got a pan flute, so I'll leave a song. So I'll basically play a song and play a small...
You play a song?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so give me a performance roll for the song.
Oh no, this might not go well. Performance, I'm not great. Okay. 15.
Okay, you managed to do a decent, not fantastic rendition of the song. And you'll know if it was accepted if you can never play the song again.
Give it away.
Genrick?
Yes.
Does the chef leave anything behind?
He doesn't say whether he has or not because he did have a lot of time in the kitchen by himself.
True.
Having had a look at the possessions of Genrick, I have found 2 things of note.
Mm-hmm.
He apparently has a pet mouse,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a token to remember his parents by.
You only just remembered your pet mouse. Your pet mouse. Does it look a bit emancipated by now?
It's probably dead.
Well, it doesn't actually say that your pet mouse has to be alive.
He's going to leave the remains of his beloved pet.
What's it called, Ben?
This is Greg.
No Michael Jackson fans?
No.
Oh.
That's okay. I'm sure Greg the Mouse will make a future appearance, much to your interest.
So, have I lost my ability to hunt, or...?
Well, you don't know. You didn't actually give your ability to hunt. You gave...
I gave
the result
to
of
me.
your hunt.
Okay.
Whereas
You
someone
hunt
said,
without
I will
me.
give them a performance. So he did a performance. It's much like if you, if a Fae asks for you to give you its name, and you say your name, then technically it's got your name now.
Yes.
You didn't say you were giving it your hunt. You said you were giving it the result of your hunt.
I did. Very clearly.
Mm-hmm. It's why I narrowed in on the person giving it a performance.
Excellent. Shall we go?
Yeah.
The earlier we leave, the faster we get to Riverfork Keep.
You'll find Dimitri just finished off his ritual and is
Okay, so just so you know, if you happen to have stayed here the night, once the sun sets, the entire insides of the inn get scoured by flame, reducing everything inside to dust and then sweeping it out.
Excellent. I knew there was something weird.
You should have stayed there now.
So the place is technically immune to fire, so no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't burn it down. But anyone inside would have been reduced to dust and cleaned out because the spell that was cleaning the place just got more powerful with time.
Cool.
Originally, it was just supposed to get away the effects of dust, but things that get maintained and enhanced over time do get stronger.
and obviously it not only went for cleaning but also for maintaining the building, which is why it looked brand new.
And that's why not many people who find the place ever report on it, because if they stay past sunset, then they never leave.
Mm-hmm. It could be the place would make it longer, obviously.
Because the cleaning effect is not a trap. It's not designed to harm anyone. It's not designed to cause any damage. It's just designed to clean everything inside and cleanse it.
That's right. If you're in the wrong place, though, that's not his problem or his fault.
Yep.
Sort of like being caught underneath a giant's footstep is not considered a trap. If he has no idea you're there. Okay, so just so you know what was happening in the background. So all of you who did give an offering, you got out of it luckily without having to give something up permanently. As it wasn't maintained by the Fae, it was maintained by the magic that keeps it alive.
I'm okay with losing some meat to that just in case.
Yeah, well, except for the mouse.
And he was dead already.
He'll get cremated tonight.
Who said he was not moving dead? He could quite easily have done animate rodent on his dead mouse and had an undead pet.
True.
Which means he hadn't done that because you couldn't detect undead every time you did detections.
Very true.
Or it could have been a clockwork mouse.
That idea got turned down, unfortunately.
You didn't spend enough time with names, huh?
Do you not have a wildfire spirit, Genrick?
No, he does. He just hasn't been able to use it yet. He
Okay.
hasn't had an opportunity to use it yet. I could have said it was his rat.
If so, the rat would have been fine with it. Fine with the fire. Okay, if we're leaving, I'm going back to my alert. Scouting ahead.
Okay, as you're outside, you do feel it has gotten rather quiet out here since you'd been in the inn. Not even animal calls can be heard in the distance.
Does it feel like how it felt when we approached Riverfork Keep?
Pretty much like that.
And there's no signs of embers or smoke or anything like that?
There is not, and you can even hear the leaves rustling, but not the sounds of animal life.
I ride back and mention that we're either getting really close to Riverfork Keep or they've moved towards us.
Alright, I'll pop a this to push out while just yeah.
Hey, Elliot, I really do recommend rewatching the video back after the session and see just how much of yourself you can understand.
Okay, sorry.
Maybe chat might be useful.
Alright.
Yes, feel free to send a message, and I'm sure someone else will speak up when they see it. Okay.
Yeah, I've got chat open, so I'm happy to.
Okay, so you get a move on. You're keeping a lookout. Give me.
Dothan pops up a level 5 detect thoughts, which reaches out to a mile.
Okay, and how long does that last? Normally 10 minutes.
Full concentration.
1 minute.
Uh-huh.
Hey, at least it gives us a blip of if anybody's around.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you do your detect thoughts out to a mile. And in those thoughts, the one thing you remember is the right way to kill an elf for the best flavor is just before it drops.
No, we'll never know now.
I'd probably still scout ahead, but closer to the party. So, like, just ahead.
Okay, so what thoughts of the unnatural does Hildebrand send back while you're out scouting during that 1 minute blip of Dothan?
I'm really seeing places that feel like they're lifeless. It's not natural. Why can't we go somewhere normal?
And then halfway through saying the last normal, it just, why don't we go somewhere norm as it cuts out on him?
You left there thinking, who's this Lord she's talking to?
Oh, just sounded like she said yeah. It's a bit strange for making myself, but that's right.
Maybe she meant north, not norm. Hard to tell.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, so as the sun starts to set, you can actually hear the river and see the keep in the distance.
Can we see a crossing?
You can see the crossing. You can actually see that the bridge is, well, not exactly a bridge, more of the path across it is still available.
Is it like the skull one on the other side?
It is not like the skull one on the other side.
Okay.
This one wasn't laid by Bargle as a defense mechanism.
And the sensation. No, go Dimitri.
I was going to say, was the battlement being manned? Manned being in inverted commas?
I'm sure the battlements have someone of interest on top.
Is there any change in the sensation? Like, it still just feels like when we last approached?
You do see what appears to be some cooking fires coming from inside the keep.
Okay.
Wasn't there last time you came?
I returned to the party and let Dimitri lead us in.
Yeah. They will go forward, assuming that there's no apparent change. We'll send an ahoy to the keep to let them know they're coming in. But do we get a response if we approach? Or get the door open or anything like that? The gate opens?
You get a creaking noise as the main gates from this side start to open. It feels like a torturous creak of the wood not wanting to move.
Mm-hmm.
As
smell from the cooking fires?
The smell from the cooking fires smell of sulfur.
Do we recognize any of the creatures on the battlement?
You do not. You can't see them clearly at this time of night. But they do have red glowing eyes.
That doesn't actually differentiate between forces of the Action King and forces of the Bartle. So,
I know. Isn't that handy?
Not even with dark vision, we're not differentiating them.
Well, considering the Ashen King could quite easily have co-opted Bargle's forces if he was skillful enough, and you wouldn't tell the difference.
Oh yeah, no, they can't, but the point being the fact that if they were clearly Ashen King forces, then that gives the question from apparently Bargle's forces. So
they look more apparently Bargle's forces than the Ashen King's forces, but hard to tell. They're still not very animate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching all around, smelling the sulfur and watching Dimitri carefully for indications of what we should do.
Damon is mounted and is ready to unsheath his sword, or one of them if needed.
Dimitri certainly keen to try and get a response. Thinking there were living creatures, there were living people in there when we left, not just the undead forces, before we actually enter. But I also, as a player, I'm feeling really tired at the moment, so I'm tempted to leave on the, for me at least, to leave on the cliffhanger of what we did.
Okay, so you hear the sounds of drums as we go to end credits for next session.
Sorry, guys,
That's horrible.
you guys keep playing, but
Yeah, Dimitri, you lead us in these situations. I'm comfortable outside and I don't like open spaces.
And especially dealing with undead.
Yep, my hands are stroking my scimitars.
Okay, so do you want to add anything before I put end credits up? Okay, so I take that as a no. And
Okay.
we'll then tell you when it's finished recording.
Okay, so give us a nice musical objective.
That works.
a nice final rendition of the music that was given away.